Let's get right into it. Number 10. The sunk cost fallacy is holding your life hostage. You've been watching a terrible movie for an hour and 20 minutes. It's objectively awful. The plot makes no sense. The acting is worse than a middle school play. But you keep watching because you've already invested an hour and 20 minutes, and your brain refuses to let that time go to waste. Congratulations, you've just experienced the psychological prison that keeps people trapped in dead-end relationships, soul-crushing jobs, and friendships that expired 3 years ago. The sunk cost fallacy is your brain's way of being a terrible accountant. It looks at everything you've already invested, time, money, effort, emotions, and says, well, we can't let that go to waste. So instead of cutting your losses like a rational human being, you double down. You stay in the relationship because you've already spent 3 years trying to fix it. You keep pouring money into that broken car because you've already spent $2,000 on repairs. Your brain treats past investments like they're still relevant to future decisions, which is like refusing to get off a sinking ship because you already paid for the cruise. Here's the thing. That time, money, or effort, it's already gone. It's sunk. It's at the bottom of the ocean wearing cement shoes. No amount of future suffering will get it back. But your brain doesn't care about logic. It cares about not feeling like an idiot for wasting resources. So it tricks you into believing that more wasting will somehow unwaste the original waste. Basically, your brain would rather commit to a lifetime of misery than admit it made a bad call last Tuesday. Number 9. Loss aversion makes you hoard garbage and people. Picture this. Someone offers you a bet. Flip a coin. Heads, you win $50. Tails, you lose $50. Seems fair, right? Except psychologically, you'd need to win at least $100 to make that bet feel worth it, because losing $50 hurts roughly twice as much as winning $50 feels good. Your brain is hardwired to treat losses like existential threats and gains like, oh, neat. This is loss aversion, and it's why you can't throw away that drawer full of cables you haven't used since 2009. It's why people stay in toxic relationships. The fear of losing what they have, even if it's terrible, outweighs the potential of finding something better. Your brain sees letting go as a loss, and losses trigger the same neural circuits as physical pain. So holding on to a relationship that makes you miserable feels safer than the loss of leaving. And here's where it gets darker. Loss aversion doesn't care if what you're losing is actually valuable. You could be clinging to a relationship that drains your soul, murders your self-esteem, and makes you cry into your cereal every morning, but your brain codes ending it as a loss. Meanwhile, the potential gain of freedom, happiness, and finding someone who doesn't treat you like a human dumpster fire, that's uncertain, risky. Your brain hates risk more than it hates misery. So you stay. You hoard the relationship like it's a VHS player you might need someday. Spoiler alert, you won't. Number 8. The Endowment Effect convinced you that your stuff and your ex is priceless. You know that ratty college sweatshirt with the mysterious stain and the hole in the armpit? The one you'd never buy if you saw it in a thrift store? Yeah, that's worth at least $80 to you now because it's yours. Welcome to the endowment effect, the psychological phenomenon that makes you overvalue literally anything you own just because you own it. Researchers have done experiments where they give people a mug and then ask them to sell it back. Logically, the mug should be worth the same either way, right? Wrong. People demand way more money to give up their mug than they'd ever pay to buy an identical one. Just the act of owning something inflates its value in your brain like a delusional Zillow estimate. Now apply that to relationships. That person you've been dating for 2 years, your brain has slapped an ownership tag on them. They're your person. And because they're yours, your brain has convinced you they're more valuable than they actually are. Never mind that they forgot your birthday, can't hold a conversation deeper than reality TV commentary, and think helping with chores means watching you clean. They're yours, which means they're priceless. The endowment effect also explains why breaking up feels like having your organs removed with a rusty spoon. You're not just losing a person, you're losing your person, something you psychologically inflated to the value of a Fabergé egg, when in reality it's more like a ceramic frog from a gas station. Your brain is basically a hoarder on a TLC show, except instead of newspapers and cats, it's hoarding mediocre humans. Number 7. Intermittent reinforcement turned you into a lab rat. Imagine a slot machine that paid out every single time you pulled the lever. Boring, right? You'd pull it a few times, get your money, and walk away. Now imagine a slot machine that pays out randomly, sometimes after 3 pulls, sometimes after 30, sometimes never. Suddenly, you can't stop. You're hypnotized. You'll stand there until your rent money is gone, because maybe the next pull is the one. Congratulations, you've discovered why you can't let go of that person who's nice to you exactly 30% of the time. It's called intermittent reinforcement, and it's the most addictive reward schedule known to psychology. When someone is consistently terrible, you leave. When someone is consistently great, you relax. But when someone switches between amazing and awful with no predictable pattern, your brain turns into a gambling addict, pulling the emotional slot machine lever until your little rat paws bleed. Your brain gets a huge dopamine hit from those random moments of affection, and because you never know when the next one is coming, you stay hypervigilant, constantly engaged, always hoping. Casinos make billions off this exact mechanism, and your emotionally unavailable ex is running the same playbook. Basically, you've been turned into a lab rat, except the reward is a text that says, "Hey," at 2 a.m. Number 6. Cognitive dissonance makes you rewrite history like a propaganda minister. Your brain hates contradiction more than it hates anything else in the universe. If you have 2 conflicting beliefs, your brain will do absolutely anything to resolve that tension, including lying to you, rewriting your memories, and gaslighting you about your own life. This is cognitive dissonance, and it's why people stay in objectively terrible situations while convincing themselves everything is fine. Here's how it works. You believe you're a smart person who makes good decisions, but you're also in a relationship with someone who treats you like expired yogurt. Those 2 facts can't coexist comfortably, so your brain has to pick one to modify. And since your brain has already invested in the relationship, remember our friend the sunk cost fallacy, it's easier to change your perception of the relationship than to change the relationship itself. So suddenly, their cruelty becomes passion, their neglect becomes giving you space, their complete lack of emotional availability becomes mysterious and deep. Your brain becomes a full-time PR team for your terrible relationship, spinning every red flag into a quirky character trait. You're literally rewriting reality to avoid the psychological discomfort of admitting you made a bad choice. And the longer you stay, the harder your brain works to justify it. Because if you've stayed for 5 years in something awful, admitting it was awful means admitting you wasted 5 years. So your brain doubles down, triples down, becomes a conspiracy theorist in your own life, connecting dots that don't exist to prove that actually this garbage fire is fine. You're basically running a propaganda ministry inside your own skull, and the enemy is the truth. Number 5. Attachment styles are ruining your life. Thanks, Mom and Dad. Some people can let go of relationships like they're returning a library book. Well, that was nice. Next. Meanwhile, you're over here clinging to people like a koala with abandonment issues, unable to release your grip even when the tree is clearly on fire. Welcome to attachment theory, where your childhood basically programmed you to either be chill about love or turn into an emotional hostage taker. If you had caregivers who were consistently responsive and available, congratulations, you developed secure attachment. You can form healthy relationships, handle breakups like a functional human, and let go when things aren't working. You're basically a unicorn. But if your caregivers were inconsistent, emotionally unavailable, or treated your needs like an inconvenience, you probably developed anxious attachment. Now your adult brain is convinced that everyone will leave you, so you cling harder than plastic wrap to a bowl. You overanalyze every text message, you need constant reassurance, you stay in bad relationships because bad relationship still feels safer than no relationship. Your nervous system learned early that love is unpredictable and terrifying, so now you're trying to control the uncontrollable by never letting go. Then there's avoidant attachment, where you're so terrified of intimacy that you can't commit to anything deeper than a houseplant. But that's a different video. The point is, your childhood basically installed faulty software in your brain, and now you're running relationship programs written by a scared 6-year-old. That 6-year-old is driving the car, and they can't even reach the pedals. Number 4, the fear of regret is keeping you paralyzed. There's a version of your future where you let go, move on, and everything works out beautifully. You're happy, thriving, living your best life. And there's another version where you let go and immediately regret it forever because, plot twist, they were actually the one and you just gave up too soon. Your brain is so terrified of the second scenario that it would rather keep you frozen in miserable limbo than risk potential regret. This is why people stay in dying relationships years past the expiration date. They're haunted by the ghost of a future regret that doesn't even exist yet. What if you leave and never find anyone better? What if they change right after you go? What if you're making the biggest mistake of your life? Your brain treats these hypothetical futures like they're real, concrete outcomes instead of the fantasies they actually are. Here's the cruel irony. By trying to avoid future regret, you're guaranteeing present misery. You're sacrificing years of your actual, real, happening right now life to avoid a feeling you might have later. It's like refusing to eat because you might regret your meal choice. Meanwhile, you're starving. And the really twisted part? People almost never regret leaving bad relationships. You know what they regret? Staying too long. But your brain can't see that from inside the relationship because it's too busy catastrophizing about theoretical futures where you die alone surrounded by cats who don't even like you. Your brain is holding you hostage with a ransom note written in hypothetical scenarios. Number 3, trauma bonding made you addicted to pain. Some relationships aren't held together by love, they're held together by shared trauma, intense emotional highs and lows, and a biochemical cocktail that mimics actual addiction. This is trauma bonding, and it's arguably the darkest reason people can't let go, because you're not attached to the person, you're addicted to the cycle. Trauma bonding happens when someone alternates between abuse and affection, cruelty and kindness, danger and safety. Your nervous system gets caught in a loop where the bad times are so bad that the good times feel euphoric by comparison. It's not that the good times are actually that good, it's that your baseline has been lowered to hell, so not being actively harmed feels like paradise. This creates a powerful biochemical addiction. During the abuse, your body floods with stress hormones, cortisol, adrenaline. Then during the makeup phase, you get oxytocin and dopamine. Your brain starts craving that hormonal roller coaster like a drug. Normal, stable relationships feel boring because they don't trigger that intense neurochemical response. You've literally been conditioned to associate love with pain. And here's the really insidious part. Your brain interprets the intensity of the relationship as depth. The constant drama feels like passion. The fact that you're always anxious feels like caring. You mistake the chemical dependency for true love, when really you've just developed Stockholm Syndrome with extra steps. People in trauma bonds often say they can't imagine life without this person, but what they actually can't imagine is life without the addiction their nervous system has developed. You're not in love, you're in withdrawal. Number 2, identity fusion made this person part of your operating system. At some point, that person stopped being just your partner and became part of your identity. You don't even know who you are without them anymore. Your hobbies are their hobbies, your friends are their friends. Your entire sense of self has merged with theirs, like 2 drops of water that can't be separated. This is identity fusion, and it's why breaking up feels less like ending a relationship and more like amputating part of your own body. When you've been with someone long enough, especially during formative years or intense periods of your life, they become woven into your self-concept. You're not you, you're you and them. Your brain literally processes them as part of your in-group, your tribe, yourself. Neurologically, thinking about them activates the same brain regions as thinking about yourself. This is why people say things like, "I don't know who I am without them," and actually mean it. You've outsourced part of your identity to this person. Your dreams include them. Your future plans assume them. Your daily routines are built around them. Letting go doesn't just mean losing a person. It means losing a version of yourself. It means confronting a terrifying question: who am I when I'm just me? And your brain, being the drama queen it is, treats this identity crisis as an existential threat. It would rather cling to a known identity, even a miserable one, than face the uncertainty of rebuilding yourself from scratch. So you stay, not because you love them, but because you've forgotten how to be a complete person without them. You've turned yourself into a two-player game, and now you're terrified to play solo. Number 1. Hope is the cruelest drug your brain ever invented. Here it is, the number 1 reason people can't let go, and it's the most devastating one: hope. Not the healthy, optimistic kind, the toxic, delusional kind that keeps you chained to something that's been dead for months. You stay because you believe they'll change. They'll finally see your worth. They'll wake up one day and become the person you need them to be. And that hope, that tiny voice whispering, "Maybe this time will be different," is more addictive than any drug on earth. Hope in a dying relationship is like a slot machine that never pays out but keeps making promising noises. Your brain clings to the 1% chance of success and ignores the 99% reality of failure. Every small positive moment, a nice text, a good day, a brief return to how things used to be, your brain files under evidence it's getting better, while completely ignoring the mountain of evidence that it's not. This is why people stay in abusive relationships, dead-end situations, and one-sided dynamics for years. They're not stupid. They're not weak. They're just high on hope, and hope is designed to override logic. Hope tells you that all the pain will be worth it when things finally turn around. Hope whispers that leaving now would mean all that suffering was for nothing. Hope promises you that you're not wasting your life. You're investing in a future that's definitely, absolutely, for sure coming any day now. But the truth about hope in a relationship that isn't working, it's not faith, it's not optimism, it's denial wearing a prettier mask. It's your brain's last-ditch effort to avoid the grief of letting go. Because as long as you have hope, you don't have to face the loss. You can stay in limbo forever, suffering in the present, but comforted by a fantasy future that will never arrive. Hope isn't keeping you afloat. It's the anchor drowning you, while you smile and say, "Any minute now, this'll start flying." That's all for today. I'll be making more videos like this, so subscribe if you don't want to miss them.